Well, the ANC NEC trying to patch up what is becoming a very shaky elective conference. Seems to be the tone for all of their elective conferences. Now it's the Northwest elective conference. The expected opening being delayed by hours. We heard a little while ago that they were expecting to get underway imminently. Let's see if that happens. ANC NEC deployees in the Northwest, Boyd Papela, says the party will await the delivery of court documents. But, and this is important, they will proceed with the conference anyway. Well, we've dragged in Professor JJ Tabane, who's joining us. Of course, he's stepped away from Power to Truth for the moment, so that's going to be an interesting one, the next episode of that. Prof, good to have you on the show. And I was watching that very brief media updates from Pulemabe and Obed Papela, and we're going to talk about what it means when you have the IPC not taking part in votes. I mean, this is the team that's been put there back in 2018, was meant to be there for 9 months. Here we are in August 2022. But here's what I think many people want to pick up on. We're still hearing the same problems, navigating uncharted water. They just can't get this right.
Well, it will be more interesting to talk about Sundowns and Chiefs, I tell you right now.
Odds are 4-1, by the way.
yeah, it will be more interesting to talk about that because it's the same thing, right? And this is a sample of what's happening across the ANC land. You saw what happened in Gauteng, right, where the conference was delayed by a whole week. They had to reconvene the following week to fight over squabbles and so on. We saw in terms of other provinces, Eastern Cape, the conference went on for 2 more days. You know, it started 2 days late. What is at stake here? What is at stake is not these conferences. What's at stake is December. Because depending on who you put in the provincial conference, you are then able, right, to throw your weight behind whoever is your candidate for December. If you lose your provincial conference, you are halfway to losing the December. And that's why this is so important. That's why there was a controversy about whether the president is going to go and speak at the KZN conference just 2 or 3 weeks ago. Why? Because it was seen that his faction, or the faction that would back him for December, had lost. And so it was uncharted waters for him. His advisors couldn't agree whether he should go there, because if he goes there, he's seen as supporting a faction that's not going to throw the lot with him in December. If he doesn't go, he's seen as factional because, suddenly he didn't go, but he was there first thing in the morning at Limpopo, first thing in the morning in the Eastern Cape, where those are sort of his provinces, so to speak, that would back him in December. So that's what this battle is about. The battle is not about the current Northwest. I mean, we know Northwest has always been a mess, really. You know, I mean, we just said there was an interim leadership for years, and now even the interim leadership has been, barred from participating in the same conference.
What does that mean, though? Like, I mean, I know we're all building up to ANC elective conference in December. It's going to be a very interesting Christmas. I wonder who's getting Christmas presents, but we'll get to December. What does it mean when IPC members can't vote in this? They're essentially non-voting members. I mean, how do you even have a conference like that?
Non-voting members, but frankly, if you look at the conference of 1,000 people who are going to vote, the IPC is not even 20 people. I don't know how many. I don't know what
I think it was 22. I think was the actual number.
Yeah, it's a small number, right? So if they've done their lobbying and so on, they won't really be concerned. But as you know, with these things, sometimes it could be neck to neck, and those 22 votes may make a difference. That's why these ones who've gone to stop them voting decided to go to court. What does that do? It takes away a few votes away from them.
Key votes as well.
Yeah. Well, in that they are influential, but surely they would have done their work already in terms of lobbying. And people are not going to vote differently just because the IPC itself is not voting, right? But I'm not dismissing it. I'm just saying on an area where it's neck to neck, 22 votes may make all the difference, as you've seen in Nasrec. In 2017, there was a few votes that made H. Makashule to be the secretary instead of Nkun. So it's not to be taken for granted. But this is not news. The repeat movie. Just remember the Free State. The Free State Provincial Conference was declared null and void just ahead of Mangaung Conference. They were the hosts, but they couldn't vote at the Mangaung Conference, right? So in this case, you've got the IPC that is supposed to be convening the conference, but can't vote because the court has said so. Now we're waiting to see whether the court will interdict the whole conference. It's not something to be ruled out. It has happened before, both in the Northwest, where there was even violence and so on in these conferences, and in the Free State, ahead of the NASREC as well, there were a couple of delegates who were taken out. There's always a controversy about, delegates taken out. You saw either Ikuruleni and Gauteng where votes were quarantined, right? So there's always a tug of war. But as I stated earlier, you must understand this not as being regional, small little battles, but the build up to December.
And the build up to December is going to be important, not just for the ANC NEC in December, but as you would have seen on our screen a moment ago, the ANC NEC now taking over the Northwest Conference as well. So we're bringing in the big hitters, the big boys, to come and try and fix this mess. What does that mean for the credibility of the Northwest when they can't even get their own house in order? They have to bring the bosses in. It doesn't.
I wish it was new. It's absolutely not new at all. You would remember that at the beginning of Cyril Ramaphosa's tenure, he had to go there to the Northwest physically to go and talk to the various factions and so on. It's one of those volatile provinces where it comes to leadership. I mean, we're told now that there are 5 people contesting for chairperson. That already tells you the fractures in that place. I'm hoping to talk to Mahuma Pelu, Supra Mahuma Pelu, sometime soon to try and get me to understand, are we back at the factional battle lines that were drawn that resulted in him no longer being premier there, right? So it's not new that the NEC will come in. The fact that there's an IPC, that means that the NEC had to intervene. But now they're intervening over their intervention.
That's it. Yeah.
Which tells you that the province is in a total mess. Some people have even said, why don't you just dissolve the whole thing? Because if you look at the history of the ANC in the post-94 era, the Northwest has never been stable.
And considering what we've seen with the court interdict yesterday already, IPC members banned, the NEC now once again having to get involved. Could you see a situation, JJ, before I say goodbye to you, as I want to talk about what you're expecting on your show, could you see a situation where this could be nullified after the conference? We could end up in a situation like that again, can't we?
Yes, they'll go to court. Because remember now, it's what we call ANC lawfare. Ahead of any national conference, you must expect that lawfare, because it's one of the what you can call the contestation weaponry.
Jay, I'm actually going to stop you for a second, JJ. I'll tell you why. I'm going to just go over to Pulele Tswiti-Jones, my team telling us that Pule is with ANC spokesperson Pule Mabe. So Pulele Tswiti-Jones with Pule Mabe. Here's the two Pules. Let's go over to them now. And JJ, you're going to stay with me for a second. Let's listen in.
Yeah. Sorry, can we have
Go ahead, Pule. Just give us an update. I see you with Pule Mabe. What do you have for us?
Definitely, Gareth was just actually preparing. As you can see behind me, it's just the empty plenary hall. We also just came out from a media briefing where the ANC was sharing light in terms of some of the logistics and how the conference will be getting underway. But joining me right now is the national spokesperson of the ANC, Pule Mabe, just to chat with us about the logistics. Pule, I just wanted to find out what's the latest in terms of progression and moving forward at the conference.
Well, you can see, we've moved you from the press room. We've now taken you into the conference plenary hall where conference will be taking place. Just look at the stage, quite prepared. Paraphernalia is there. You can see everything is quite prepared. So what we said, because some of our delegates would have concluded their registration this morning. Others are being processed as we speak. There was that question that Comrade Bra Op spoke about, which we are now trying to fix, really, which is now the question of making sure that where we do replacement of delegates to comply with the 50-50 principle, such does not really tamper with the credentials that are supposed to really make up this 9th provincial conference. So delegates are freshening up. We had said that we'll give them till after lunch. Between 2 and 3 o'clock, we should start drafting them into the plenary hall so that we could then start with the important work of conference.
Dabe, man, your court paper, man. What's the latest with the interdict, this whole issue? I know you said you are ready for anything. Is that still the stance?
Well, I wouldn't know because we are not taking the ANC to court. We're not taking the ANC to court. We have got a legal team. So if there is any matter before the courts that requires us to be able to file responding affidavits or deal with those, we are a law-abiding organization, we will be able to comply with such a process. But from where we are standing, we are quite comfortable that this conference, the 9th Provincial Conference of the ANC here in the Northwest, will proceed with its work, and that when we rise tomorrow, we'll be having the leadership of the ANC in the province of the Northwest.
So, yes, Deputy President David Mabuza expected to open. What are some of the critical things you think will be discussed during plenary as well?
Well, you are not going to avoid discussing renewal, the overriding unity of the African National Congress, the need for cadres of the organization to work as one to be able to resolve the socio-economic challenges of our people, the raging issue of Zamazamas. I mean, the Northwest is also a mining province. We have spoken quite frankly about the issues of illegal immigrants, whether they are white illegal immigrants or black illegal immigrants. An illegal immigrant is an illegal immigrant. It doesn't matter their color. And we have got to take one firm position around that, commenting on the work that, building on the work that Comrade Aaron Motsoaledi, in his capacity as the Minister of Home Affairs, is already leading, as well as the work that is being done by our Peace and Stability Subcommittee of the African National Congress. So we are quite confident that, guided by the policy conference and its recommendations, this provincial conference will be able to build on that firm ground and show our people out there that it is possible to build overriding unity in the province of the Northwest. It is possible to drive the renewal that we so much need to inspire the confidence of our people in communities, to return back to the delivery of basic services in a manner that addresses the problems faced by our people here in the Northwest. I mean, it's quite impoverished. Many of our people, young people here, are without jobs. When some of the mines closed down, it meant that they now had, in their majority, to now rely on the public service to be able to provide the much-needed jobs. So we are behind the work that is being done by our cadres deployed in government to try and resolve some of those. But surely, comrades in this province, alive to their own problems, will be able to emerge with a clear program that talks to what needs to be done to make the Northwest province an even much better province for our people.
You say you're starting at 3 p.m. Are you confident that conference will conclude on time by tomorrow?
We are quite confident. We might even start earlier than that. Yeah. We are giving ourselves that because you see, when you want a free conference, that's why we put all security measures to make sure that our people are properly scanned as they come in. There is nothing that poses a threat to those that must participate in the live of conference.
Right. Pulimabe, ANC National Spokesperson, joining us. Thank you very much for your time, just giving us clarity around the details that will continue from here onwards as the conference, like they've said, will be continuing just about at 3 p.m. and there from onwards we'll be giving you a more live coverage as to what will be unfolding during plenary, and that open entrance that will be delivered there by the Deputy President of the ANC, David Mabuza.
All right, Pule Letwiti Jones speaking to Pule Mabe for us from the ANC. So it should start around 3 o'clock this afternoon. Very quickly, let me just come get a final thought from Professor JJ Tabane, host of Power to Truth here on ENCA. So 2 things stand out for me. Give me your thoughts as I say goodbye. Overriding unity. We're hearing the same thing over and over again. And Didi Mabuza speaking, not the president. Or am I reading too much into this briefly?
Yeah, well, in all the conferences, the president has not opened, and unless I've missed any detail, he will always want to close. Why? Because it's almost like a glory thing, you know, that his faction has won and is coming there to pump them up and so on. We saw what happened in Limpopo. He even came to answer at that conference about the Palapala farm, you know. So he's more free to come and do a closing. Didi Mabuza has not done much work anyway, whether in his capacity as ANC Deputy President or as capacity as Deputy. So I think it's a welcome thing that he's earning his salary today of some sort, to go and talk to ANC people. Because remember, Didi Mabuza has arose on a ticket of unity. The big question in December will be what happened to that project. Has it failed dismally, or has he done anything at all in as far as unity is concerned? Because that was his ticket to rise to be the Deputy President.
So overriding unity, but we are seeing 5 names being dropped in. How can you?
That's not unity.
How's that? It's exactly
that's chaos. So I'm looking forward to talking to the former Premier of the Northwest sometime in this week. We hope that it will be on Tuesday, and it will be very interesting to hear his perspective. Of course, it will be interesting if he has won or lost. He will still be a good guest to try to understand: is the Northwest ever going to be a stable province in the ANC, but also in society. The Northwest is one of the poorest provinces, with potholes, in the capital, with infrastructure collapsing, with corruption in municipalities all over the show. It's a mess. I don't know how many municipalities, maybe one or two or none, have received a clean audit in a recent report by the Auditor General just 2 or 3 months ago.
So I think everyone looking forward to not just Tuesday's edition of Power to Truth, but perhaps the whole week as well, depending on how it plays out at the Northwest. Prof, good to have you with us.
Thank you so much.
JJ
Keep up the good
here
work.
on All Angles.